Hello and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today we're going to be talking about the country of Mexico, a country of contrasts, of natural beauty, of urban blight, of wealth and of tremendous poverty. To tell us more about the situation of Catholics in Mexico, it is my very great privilege to welcome the Auxiliary Bishop of Detroit, Michigan, His Excellency Arturo Cepeda. Thank you, Your Excellency, for being with us here today in our program.
My pleasure. Thank you for your invitation.
Your Excellency, you were born in San Luis Potosi in Mexico, and you left Mexico at the age of 19. Why did you leave? Why did your family leave?
Well, as you said, yes, I was born in San Luis Potosi. That's in the central part of Mexico. My family, like many other families that now come to the United States, moved from San Luis Potosi because of economic situation. And my parents truly believed in the opportunities that the children should have to be able to succeed in society, to be able to be good for a society. We had the opportunity to come to the United States as you know, immigrants, but as documented immigrants. So my family decided to take the decision, and I was a teenager, 18 actually, when my family moved, and we moved to San Antonio, Texas.
It must have been a difficult decision. All your friends, I mean, in the age 19, you're in the middle of your social context. It must have been a difficult move for you.
It was a difficult move, but at the same time, it was an opportunity, really, that we saw that it was, for us, it was important. We knew that our parents wanted the best for us.
You said that your faith was nurtured in the domestic church. How would you describe this domestic church, and who was important in the faith development?
I believe that strongly, as our Catholic teachings tells us, that it is in the family, it's in the domestic church that we first learn the love of God. God is love, God, we know very well that Deus Caritas Est, as the Pope Benedict will remind us in his first encyclical. And it was in the family that I learned that, God is love, that, we will come together in prayer every single day. We will celebrate the sacraments. A person that truly had a great impact in my life as I was growing up was my great-grandmother. She passed away when she was 110 years, and this was a lady that was just very, strongly, a believer in our Catholic faith. She would be the one making sure that all of their great-grandchildren will go to church.
You went to daily mass.
I went to daily mass. We will celebrate, we will pray the rosaries every day, and we will be involved in the community in our parish life. So that's the domestic church. That's how we begin to learn and experience the love of God.
When did you first have a sense of your own vocation?
Well, the very first time was I was probably like 6 years old. And, there are many times when people ask me, how do you know that this was your vocation? I will always say, I don't know. It's just that you had that desire, so the seed was planted. It is God who always acts first. I was 6 years old. I had no idea why I said, I want to become a priest. I do know that I was very much involved, as an altar server. I would go to church like almost every day. The pastor had a very good relationship with my family. The church was just around the corner, so I believe that all of that helped me to mature that, that desire.
Was there one person who was decisive in your decision to becoming a priest?
Well, yes, I had a family who they were always very supportive, but then there's a time as you begin to discern the calling, that you begin to ask the questions. Why? Is it this for me or not? I remember once helping this older lady to move from one place to another. She had some kind of a bag with potatoes or something. I don't even know what it was, but it was heavy. And she was trying to move that. And I remember just going out there and I said, can I help you? And she said, okay. So I did. And then she said to me, have you ever thought about becoming a priest? And I said, yes. And
Out of the blue,
yes,
the blue.
and that was the sign. And I remember Will saying, that was my angel. That was God's, messenger right there. I was just open to that moment, and just right there that I knew that, that's what God wanted me to do.
You are now the auxiliary bishop of Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
Was the appointment? How did the appointment come to you, and was it a surprise?
There were two surprises, I will say. One was that the Pope was named me, wanted me to become a bishop, and the other one was to go to Detroit. I mean, I didn't know much about Detroit,
yes.
So that was kind of again, God is a God of surprises.
What is your Episcopal motto, and why did you choose that particular motto?
My motto, as you know, it reflects my life in ministry in the church. And when I had the opportunity to begin to think and to reflect of what I do as a priest, as a man of faith, to bring out good news to the people of God, my motto was just to that movement. It's a spiritual movement that helps us understand God in our world. The very first one is to listen to Him. So we need to hear the Word, then to become the Word, meaning that we need to really allow ourselves, be open to the transformation that comes once we know the Word, and allow Christ to incarnate in ourselves and be able to then to proclaim the good news. So there is that movement, and that's my motto, to hear, to become, to proclaim.
According to estimates, in the next 10 years, Hispanics will make up the majority of the Catholic Church. Do you see your nomination as a reflection of this demographic change within the United States Catholic Church?
I do believe that the community in the United States, that's the Hispanic community, is a community that brings blessings to our country and is as rich in our tradition. And I do believe, as I said before, it is a blessing. I do believe also that what the Pope is bringing to the attention of our church in the United States is that, yes, these people that we call the Hispanics coming from all over Latin America, they're bringing the faith into the country, and it's a new way of proclaiming what we believe in, proclaiming our Catholic faith. I do believe that my ministry as a young bishop is to be able to serve our country, our church, from the point of view and the experience of the Hispanic community. So yes, there is a reflection there that I believe that the church is aware of, and I'm very glad for it.
Archbishop Alain Vigneron, and I quote, said in a statement, "He is a true son of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I know she will help him share his gifts with us." How has Our Lady of Guadalupe played a role in your life?
Well, ever since even before I was born, I guess, I will say, my family, they have a very deep relationship and faith with Our Lady, especially Our Lady of Guadalupe. And, to be a Mexican is also to be a Mexicano, a Guadalupano, because, that is that relationship that we have so close with Our Lady. The very fact that I remember very, very well that every time that we would come to Mass, we will always spend time with Our Lady, after Mass, and then just pray the rosaries, So the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is all over the house, So I grew up, in that environment. As a Guadalupano. And that brings good news because in the sense, once we understand and see the beautiful story that is behind, the apariciones, of Our Lady to an Indian, a peasant, a lady who is just dark skinned as we are.
Yes.
I mean, there's just that connection
yes.
right there, an immediate connection, and just to be able to bring the good news that she brings, about bringing her son into our world. It's just that is, what makes us good Catholics too.
Juan Diego, a Chichimeca Indian, is one of the most famous people in the history of Mexico. A poor peasant, he experienced the apparition of Our Lady of Guadalupe from the 9th to the 12th of December 1531. Although it has been 5 centuries since that event, Juan Diego's image continues to carry meaning, especially for the indigenous populations. Juan Diego is beloved, respected and worshipped. The popular devotion is witnessed everywhere, whether street or path. Mexican geography is characterized through images of the saint. They may or may not have artistic value, but the indigenous take pride in them. The apparition to Saint Juan Diego, today proposed as a model for the lay people and as an instrument for the evangelization of the country, caused a revolution at that time regarding the indigenous culture, traditions and lifestyle, as significantly the Virgin spoke to him in a native dialect, Nahuatl. Mexico City is one of the largest cities and the most populated capitals in the world. It is a challenge of survival for those among the poor. It is a country of great contrasts, tremendous wealth, and yet deep poverty and marginalization, especially among the indigenous that have migrated from afar in search of a solution to the poverty at home. Many times it is only the Church who opens the doors and offers them the comfort of faith. And if we speak about faith in Mexico City, it is to the Guadalupe Basilica that millions seek solace each year. Thousands of Mexicans come on a pilgrimage to the shrine every day. Everyone's prayer is unique, personal, and exclusive. Many still speak Nahuatl, the dialect used by the Indian Juan Diego nearly 5 centuries ago. But the relationship between indigenous culture and Catholic Church has not been established only in areas of faith and culture. This relationship has become more than that. Today the Church is the place where indigenous people are accepted as they are. They share their experiences and gather strength to face the hostile environment that can be Mexico City.
Your Excellency, in a 2010 census, it's actually showing that the Catholic faith is declining in Mexico. And again, I want to quote the census here. It showed that in 1950, 98% declared themselves Catholic. Today, that percentage is at 83%, which means over these last years, from 1950 to today, over 1,300 Catholic Mexicans have left the church every day. Why is this happening, and what is the significance for Catholic Mexico?
I think, the reality that I see in Mexico as it is now, as we face the 21st century, is that the central part of Mexico, it's continued to remain highly Catholic. We find, and this is a very unique phenomenon going on, especially coming from the northern part of Mexico. The northern states are the ones that are showing that less Catholics, so the numbers, like the decline of Catholicism, as well in the southern parts. One of the things that I do believe is that especially coming from the northern states, is the influx of of different sects, different churches coming, crossing the border, and it's just trying to bring Catholics to their own churches. There is a reality that is going on right now in Mexico, and I do believe that there's a concern that the Catholic Church has in regards to all of our brothers and sisters that are leaving the church.
Exactly. This comes to another point of that same census, which stated that in 1950, 1.2% or something like that of Mexicans were members of evangelical or personal-based churches, and today the number is up to 8% in 2010. Why is it that the evangelical or personality-based churches are making such inroads into the Catholic Mexico?
I do believe that there are two factors that play in this phenomenon of having brothers and sisters moving from the Catholic Church into the evangelical church. One, and I think that is the most constant as I see it throughout the nation of Mexico, is economic factor. A very good number of churches, evangelical churches, the first thing that they will offer, even before they move into proclaiming good news, is just, we bring you some money. We know that you are in need. So, and that's a phenomenon that you see going on, especially in the northern part of Mexico. There is poverty, yes, and so they do offer help. and financial help to the people, even bringing them food, clothing, and then they move into, trying to bring them into their church, into their faith. So that's one factor. The other factor, I think, is also that there is a tendency to move into just the families and to be very personable in a sense. They want to go community oriented, but it's just one by one. And that personal touch, I believe, is becoming very effective. We have members of a family, that have always been Catholics, and then now are joining these other churches. But then the way that they were able to join the other church was because it was a personal invitation. It was nothing just like, okay, just come. No, they went out to them, towards them.
So but this, of course, begs the question, what is the Catholic Church not doing that the young people are being then attracted to these other denominations?
And I believe that's the challenge just right there, that the Catholic Church right now in Mexico is coming to realize that it is important, it is extremely important to be able to reach out in person to person. In other words, to be personable to all of our faithful, to reach out. For centuries, the Church has come to, so say they'll come to us. I mean, they're yes. baptized. We celebrate our faith in community.
We don't have to reach out.
And now this phenomenon is really, for us in Mexico, it is a challenge, but it's an eye-opener too. It's an opportunity for us to be asking ourselves that question, what are we lacking? And I do believe that when it comes to reaching out, we still need to do much. There's much to do.
One of the most striking features of the census was the statement that 5.2 million of young Mexicans declared themselves as having no religion at all. How is secularism making inroads, and what is the reason for this declaration?
As you know, in the history of Mexico, there's been for many years now, that division between religion and state is very, very clear. Secularism, as it is now, it's becoming more prominent in the young people, and that's what is making them to make those statements. That does not mean, and now this is my understanding, that does not mean that they are not Catholic or they're just refusing their faith. They are simply not wanting to practice nor to declare that they are practicing Catholics. And that is also a challenge for us, for the Church, because, again, secularism comes through this, and then knowing that in the history of Mexico, there's always been this division between state and religion. Now the young, younger generations are saying, are you simply not going to say a word? So when they are asked the question, are you practicing your religious, they will say, no.
I want to move a little bit on to an economic question. According to the World Bank, 53% of Mexicans are declared poor. That is, according to a statement, living on less than $2 a day. Why is there such poverty in a country of such wealth?
It is very unfortunate to say that, yes. I believe that our country, in Mexico, it's rich, in natural resources. People are wanting to work. But I do believe also that at times it is the system, and perhaps, just the idea of some of our, leaders that would just kind of like to concentrate the rich in just some few people, some few sectors, and I do believe that.
So it's actually a disparity. It's from distribution.
Correct.
Distribution of wealth is the problem.
And I believe that's one of the main problems right now in Mexico.
This has provoked, as we know, a number of young Mexicans, particularly young families, not seeing a future for themselves in Mexico, to take the chance and to cross the border as undocumented migrants into the United States. What is your position with regard to these migrants, and what is this as a, let's say, as a positive and a negative for the United States?
I believe that, coming from my own experience as an immigrant, family moving from San Luis Potosí into the United States, trying to find a better life, Many of our men and women that are crossing the borders now bring a great richness, and there is a positive impact for our country in the United States. It is a blessing, it is a challenge, but I do believe that in many occasions it is the economic factor. Now, we also need to add in the past couple of years, there is also the increase of violence.
Tremendous violence on the northern
Tremendous
borders.
violence, exactly. That is, and that is also making a lot of families to move up to United States. Once again, I do want to be very clear that the presence of our immigrants in the United States is a positive presence, and it is a blessing, and it's a blessing for our church.
What wealth do they bring with them?
There is a desire to do better. There is a desire, again, to be good to the community. They have a good sense of living in community, and I do believe, helping each other and be able to bring the best out of them.
And a great sense of family
And
as well.
a good sense of family. And from our point of view, and as Catholic Church, most of our Hispanics that are moving into the United States are Catholics. So to be able to celebrate their faith in a church, that's going to bring newness to the church in the United States.
But what would be, for example, if we look outside the Catholic context, an average American would say, they're taking my jobs. Well, then what answer would we say? No, the immigration is good for the country as a whole, not just for the from the Catholic perspective.
Correct.
What would be your answer to this?
My answer, I would like to bring it from the point of view of the Conference of Michigan Bishops. The conference made a statement, in regards to immigration, and in that statement, there are 3 points that the bishops point out as the reality that is going on with the immigrants in the United States. First of all, that there is, they have dignity, and that we are called to protect that dignity. So we are human beings, and I think that it's important for our country in the United States to, first of all, to realize that we are dealing with human beings, with a person. So that's a first statement. The other one is that we are also dealing at this point with the richness that they bring within their own families. So it is the family that we uphold. Immigrants that come to the United States many times will have to leave their families behind, and for us, we want to work in a law that will bring definitely union with families. And the other one is that they bring richness, they bring a positive impact into our country. We're hard workers, people that want to desire to do the good, looking for the common good of the community. And I believe that, and as I mentioned to you, that sense of community and the sense of family, it's important. And that's what brings, I believe, the blessings to the nation.
Does the current policy make you angry?
I believe that the current policy at this point is, and again, coming from the point of view of the bishops and of Michigan, it needs to be more fair and merciful. And we are, as bishops, we are called to bring forth love, mercy, and it is our duty to be able to speak, when something is immoral, or we're speaking, and we are teachers of faith. So yes, the policies at this moment need to listen to what we need to bring. Again, it's about justice, it's about mercy.
Another issue which we touched on earlier is the question of violence, and this is of course born out of poverty breeds violence, and part of the violence is with regard to the drug problem, the drug trade. $13 billion industry. Over the last few years, 28,000 people have died directly as a consequence of the drug violence. And I quote here, the Archbishop of Mexico City, Cardinal Norberto Rivera Carrera, said, "The Church, although many want her to do so, cannot remain silent in face of the sins of the world and of her children. A silent church is of no service to God or man." What can the church do with regard to this trauma, this burden of the drug trade and the impact and particularly violence on the population?
As I've mentioned to you, it is very sad to hear the news, especially in the northern part of the states, of Mexico, born with the borders of the United States, where the violence has increased and where there's been a lot of deaths. where you find people moving away from their own towns, crossing the border because of drugs and because of all this violence. And as the cardinal says, the church needs to speak up. The violence needs to stop. We need to be looking for the dignity of the person and the human beings. We need to be looking for the good of the community.
In an earlier interview, you quoted the first letter to St. Peter, and I quote it again here. Always be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope. Do you have hope for Mexico?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm glad you're bringing this up. There is one of the texts that describes my life as now as a young bishop too. There is hope, and we need to be ready to always to proclaim this. I do believe that even though we are in Mexico in the midst of economic crisis, we're in the midst of violence. We are also Catholic, we are Christians, and the good news is always present. Our Pope Benedict always said, that faith brings hope, and I think that's just key for all of us, that to bring those news, the good news to the people, that's what we need to listen to, so there is hope.
Your Excellency, thank you for having been with us today in our program.
Thank you very much for your invitation. God bless you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on Where God Weeps. And if you'd like to know more about the story of Mexican Catholics and how you might be able to help, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.